Hello and a warm welcome to a new episode of Take Along With Me. I'm Laura.
Today, I'll show you how to make these super summer tote bags. Good sack, whatever you want to call it.
Sewing is easy. All you really need is fabric that you like and that can be sewn. I have both, so I would say
let's just start right away.
For our intonations, we need, well, I have a transmitter here. I believe it suits well as we see and have two identical ones.
Pieces cut
and
out.
Respectively, 40 centimeters in width and 45 centimeters in height. Once it's all sewn together, we'll end up with about 35 centimeters in width and 40 centimeters in height. So I stretched the time in it. Fits great, but you can adjust the size as you like. Then I cut two identical pieces for the straps that are 70 centimeters long and 10 centimeters wide. Inches high. I wrapped it around my arm once and pasted on another bag, and that fit quite well. If you'd like longer straps, you can of course adjust the length. However, I would stick to 4 inches in width. Then we don't need what's already there in the fabric, creating a nice contrast somehow towards the darker colors. So you will see the yarn afterwards. Then we need a ruler to make our mark, a pair of scissors or a rotary cutter, depending on what you like to use to cut out your stick, a semi-sharp object to work out the corners, a marking pen or chalk. I have one here that can be ironed out, which won't be visible afterwards. Then we also need thin things, clips and an iron, which I haven't put on the table now though, to avoid further injuries since I already had one. But we are going to iron in the next step, so I'll clear everything away here, and for that we'll need here our carrier for the first time in the void. Attach the half. Anyone who wants can also take half, that is 2 inches. Trace with chalk or a pen, where an ironing pen is definitely not helpful in any case. So first in half, and then we flip the whole thing over. Ironing it again, pressing nicely flat so that we can sew it all together like this. In our next step, we sew the strap on right now along this edge. That's the first edge I'm sewing. So I can really make sure that the two edges, make sure the seams or pleats are well aligned, then fold along here once more. For this, you can maintain a distance of about 3 millimeters. I would just cut it close to the edge because 2 millimeters is also fine. If it's 4 millimeters, then that's okay too. Do it as it fits. I'll do this with a straight stitch of a stitch length of just about 2.5 centimeters. And yes, at the beginning and at the end, I can go there and buck once and lock the whole thing a bit.
That's a lovely easy. We already have an organ.
Once the straps are sewn, we'll move on to the main fabric, which we won't lay out again. Usually it's right sides together, but this time it's wrong sides together. So the less pretty side on the less pretty side. And we can pin the whole thing down. Is temporarily attached here at the side. We're keeping the upper part free as it will become our opening. So we go along here, there and there. With about 5 millimeters gap, you can also go for 6 millimeters. We can also trim off the seam allowance right away. We're going to do this with a lovely French seam allowance. Then we need to tidy up a bit more. I've sewn this together now, and if I saw any excess fabric, I trimmed it off. Happy to have a knife here, sewing and especially cutting. The French seam is about making sure the second seam we're about to set, the first, this is the allowance wraps around
The spacing.
which we had at the first seam, so about 5 centimeters. Be smaller than with the second seam. Here we're going for a seam allowance of about 1 centimeter. First off, we need to iron things out a bit. It'll make learning our French easier later on.
Well, again.
And for that,
We open our seam and press it all down properly. Good day. As far as we can get a bit into the corners, and then I'll show you more here. So here I am sewing with a seam allowance of about 1 centimeter. And now how should old seam allowances of approximately 5 millimeters in? This is the perfect hiding and disguising. Let's get started. In the next step, we place identical marks on both sides of the fabric, and then some ones for 5 centimeters, while there is the fabric opening on my side facing me. I can show you once. So here we're marking 5 centimeters. Here is my fabric opening, if I can grab it. And from these 5 centimeters, go in another inch here from my fine black line. And that's off the battle tongues. Now we're working our way from the outside in. I'll start by orienting myself here on this side. That's what I'm doing now. 10 centimeters have been achieved. Or pull from the side again. Take a look, folks, inward, so that we're approximately between these two markings have 15 centimeters. I think that's basically the thinness. We have markings on both sides 5 centimeters. Above that 2.5 centimeters and about 10 centimeters from the edge inward. Respectively, if your bag is wider, you would like it accordingly 15 centimeters. Titati, I'm where you can then get your arm through. We'll place the straps evenly, so please don't just point out one seam and have the other seam pointing right. I'd position both nails inward so that the bracket sits centered on the mark. And here at this 5 centimeters mark. Now we can pin everything in place before we move on to the other side. And for that we now fold our fabric up to the 5 centimeters mark. And it might be easier to do this on just one side back to the 2.5 centimeter mark. And we're nailing our fregamo with that. Now pin everything in place.
Yeah, it's the same game.
So
I think that fits. Oops, one's already slipping away.
and now let's work our way along the pockets. And now we can make our first seam, and for this let's take diesel seam first. So first here the inner seam and sew our strap right on, and when we placing the outer seam here, then we'll flip the strap over again. That way it gets sewn in more securely. Here I take about 3 millimeters to the edge. If it's a millimeter more or less, it's fine. And you see, I've already noticed a mistake. It's very good that I mentioned it earlier. I've placed my strap the wrong way around. And I'm not going to stop the video now, but we'll let you be part of it live. I also made a mistake here. Again here, so this is what happens when you talk so much and secure it.
Good. I noticed that just in time.
See you in a bit. Before dinner, I noticed concentration. I'll check the whole grain bread on the other side once more. And then it fits. So the first stitch is coming your way.
Those who want to make the straps even more stable can now do so here at the top.
Yet another half a house from Nicholas. Sew it in just like that. Around those, yes, to stabilize the carrier here a bit more. I'll do that right now. Then the corners will be neatly worked out and one can finish the whole bag again here nicely with the facet. And then we are, yeah. The corners have been worked out with a chopstick and I ironed the seams flat again. Then it all looks even more professional. And now I can admire my bag. It has this beautiful French seam on the inside. Nothing here is about zigzag stitching or using an overlock machine, but it's all really nice, sturdy and clean. See you next time. I hope you had fun. Let me know in which versions you've tried this. Made a leash into a flower bag. I've also started to do some embroidery on it here. If you want to know how it's done, feel free to check out the next video. See you later. Such nice 3D effects, and it really lies on the fabric too. So there are many different possibilities. See you then. Designing fabric bags. I hope you'll join us next time as well. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the future, which material you use and what you might have had difficulties with. This naturally helps me to make my videos even more helpful in the future. And in this sense, I hope we'll hear from each other soon. Until then, I wish you a very great day. Get into a fight by